If you are a woman in your 40s, especially if you're neurodivergent, especially if you are a mom, I'm begging you to stop abandoning yourself and pleading with you to start living while you are still alive. So, there are a lot of things that you can abandon yourself to. My story is high control religion. But the thing about abandoning yourself is it's not only related to religion, it's related to any time that you prioritize duty over your own life, your own feeling alive, your own enjoyment, and the things that you love. And this happens so much in motherhood. Slowly, we let go of the person we once were because we believe that sacrificing ourselves is the way to be a good mother. There is the real possibility to live a life where you are engaging in the life that you have by doing the things that you're good at and the things that make you happy and still being a good mom. And I would say our children learn from us how to enjoy life. I know that that seems impossible right now, given the circumstances. I often think about how it just feels like an inconvenient time to try and enjoy your life, to try and live a life that feels fulfilling, especially if you are American and you are watching the government crumble around you. I know it feels impossible. And I also know we aren't promised a future. I really hate to hear people saying, oh, just wait till January 2028. Our life is now. Your life is now. And we don't know. We don't know the future. As somebody who has lost friends to cancer in their 40s, life is here now to be lived. And not only am I talking about this because the world is unpredictable and life is not promised, I'm talking about this because I know that for myself, as a mom, as a woman who had undiagnosed ADHD for a really long time, I did a lot of self-abandoning and I was praised for it. I was in systems that praised me for abandoning myself. And that is one of the greatest regrets that I have as a woman in my 40s. I lost over a decade to systems that taught me and showed me how to abandon myself, how to reject what I cared about, how to reject what mattered to me, and to set those things aside for what? The system, I guess. For me, that was a high control church environment. And right now, I am reconstructing my faith, and it should have been life giving. And instead, it was teaching me to self abandon. And so, there's a lot of systems that teach us to self abandon. I mean, corporate America, just like what's praised in motherhood in general. I think all around the world, but especially in America, women are praised for abandoning themselves and sacrificing everything for everyone else. And I believe that there's another way. I really truly believe that you don't have to abandon yourself to be a good, loving mom. And you don't have to abandon yourself to a career. You don't have to abandon yourself to a marriage or a church system or to the endless pressure to produce. I didn't know that I was doing it at the time, but what we did was finally leave that high control church system that pressured us to abandon ourselves and pressured us to be people that we were not. The system valued very certain qualities, and if you didn't match up with those qualities, then you didn't fit in the system or you weren't given power in the system. Thank goodness, to be honest. For me, it was pretty confusing because partially the first high control church system that I was in pulled me in and praised some of my strengths. Ironically, especially because I'm a woman, and both of those church systems were very, very limiting to women and what it was okay for women to do. But because I have really strong leadership skills, I was really pulled in as a woman who could influence other women. And I have a lot of regrets about letting them use me that way, because I should have been focusing on my education. I was in college and I was told that what was valuable was ministry and what was valuable was using my leadership gifts with other women, and that I shouldn't take this class or that class. Especially, I was discouraged against pursuing art because art classes take a lot of time. And they didn't want my time to be used for that. They wanted my time to be used for the college ministry. So anyway, I learned in that system to abandon myself for praise of a very specific part of me. And then the irony is, once you're married, your world gets even smaller because you're a wife now. So you're allowed to do ministry and influence other women to be wives now. But you're not encouraged to develop yourself, have an education. I'm thankful that I didn't get married until after I finished university. So at least I got my bachelor's degree. I got a free ride to get my master's, and I did not finish that degree because now I was a wife, and so I needed to focus on being a wife and doing ministry. So I needed to self-abandon, and I needed to focus on exactly what the church wanted me to be doing, which was lots of free labor through service. I often say service is not the problem. Service can be a beautiful thing, but when you aren't given the option for other things and you're forced into service, you don't feel like you're being forced at the time, but I mean, the choice was, well, you can serve and be a godly person, or you can go finish your master's degree, which you're not going to use anyway because you're married now and you're going to be a mom. My life was really dictated to me by that point, like 4 years into this high control church situation. And I let them do it. The reason that I let them do it is probably a video for tomorrow. I've been studying like what goes on in the brain in coercive systems and what it is about coercive systems that makes this like perfect storm where you comply even if it wasn't in your nature to comply before. And I am not a compliant person in that I there's a dog chaos going on outside of my house right now. Thankfully, it's not my dogs. I don't think it was not my dogs. Thank goodness. Tomorrow I will be talking about the perfect storm of situations from a brain perspective that keeps you compliant in coercive systems. I was in a coercive system and I absolutely didn't know that I was in a coercive system. I thought it was just like I thought it was a normal church. I thought it was a church that really cared about God and following God. Just a side note that I have been in non-coercive churches that were life-giving and a beautiful part of my life before and after the two coercive churches. During that period of my life, I learned to abandon myself. I learned to abandon my intuition. I learned to abandon what I cared about, and I did. I abandoned myself. I abandoned the very clear, feminist, justice-oriented artist that I was. You might recognize all of those things as dangerous to authoritarian systems. Authoritarian systems hate to see an artist coming. They hate to see a truth teller. They hate to see somebody speaking out about injustice. And that's who I am. It was underdeveloped. It was immature as a teenager. But those things were present, and then they were co-opted into that system for quite a long time in the name of faith. But that wasn't a faith that looked like the faith that I grew up with or the faith that I see in the Bible now. So it wasn't my faith that taught me to self-abandon. It was a system that was patriarchal and didn't see the image of God in me or the other people. But hi, I'm videoing right now.
Sorry.
That's okay. Close the door for me. Thank you. There's a lot of things going on in my house today. I would say our children learn from us how to enjoy life, especially our daughters, but also our sons and our non-binary children. They all see what it means to live a good life through us as moms. And I think that's really good news. It's really good news that we get to teach our children what it means to be glad to be alive and understand what makes us happy and understand what we're uniquely good at and what our strengths are. That's good news because it isn't you or the children. If you are fully alive and you are enjoying your life, that will benefit the children. This is one thing. This is one thing. We don't have to sacrifice everything that we love to be a good mother. Now, I know that there are time constraints. I'm not even talking about like, so have this big, huge hobby or, have this thing that you do that takes lots of time. That's not even really what I'm talking about. Yes, spend time on yourself. Spend time doing what you love. Spend time figuring out what you love or remembering, right? Because we all know, or at least we did before the world told us that we had to abandon ourselves. We knew what we liked. Think of you as a child. Now, this gets a little complicated for people who grew up in coercive systems because identity is squelched in coercive systems. I had the privilege to not grow up in that kind of system, and I was able to develop my identity and know what I loved and be celebrated in the things that I loved. Now, not all of us are able to have that, but a lot of us are able to remember, what do we care about when we were little? What made us happy? Like, what did we want to do? Especially those of us who are neurodivergent. Like, it's pretty clear the things that make you interested and happy and glad to be alive. At some point, though, you may have been told that those things were not okay, or that they were a waste of time, that they weren't worth pursuing. And what matters to you is always worth pursuing. The things that make you happy, the things that you find interesting, the things that bring wonder into your heart, those things matter. And it's good for your children to see that. It is good for the world when you're allowed to lean into who you are and deep dive on whatever kind of weird subjects you want to deep dive on. You may have noticed that I have deep dived a lot about high control systems. I could talk about those all day. And I think 2 days from now, we will talk about some of the red flags in those systems, because those are the things. All of this falls under my 44 ways I built a life that doesn't break me, because high control systems broke me. They broke me because they encouraged me to abandon myself. And if you don't have yourself, what do you have? Think about it. If you have faith in God, I suppose you have God, but what a sad reality if you abandon yourself. If we are, from a faith perspective, made in the image of God, there's a richness to that. There's a beauty to that. And it's worth discovering. It's worth spending time on. And like, how do you live a life if you don't know yourself and you don't know what makes you happy? You can exist, but are you daring to truly live? Are you feeling alive? Life, with all of its mundane moments, you can feel alive and then you can do the dishes. Or you can feel alive while you're doing the dishes because you listen to something interesting. That's my story. I listen to music, or I listen to podcasts, or whatever. I listen to something to inspire me while I'm doing the things that are mundane and that make me bored out of my mind. There's so much to be interested in the world, and I just want to encourage you to start there, I guess. If you know that you've abandoned yourself, or you feel like you don't really know yourself anymore, I think a lot of women in our 40s come back to that place of starting to care again and not wanting to abandon ourselves any longer. And so what do we do once we realize, oh, like, I've been putting myself aside? It's not too late. It's never too late to regain your sense of self. Even today, you can just do one little thing that makes you feel alive, whether that's dancing to some music, or singing really loud, or looking at flowers, whatever it is that makes you feel glad to be alive. It doesn't have to be this big thing. It starts with very small little steps, little moments of noticing the light hitting the plants, or noticing that that plant has a new leaf, or noticing the dandelion in the crack in the sidewalk, this bright shock of color. Whatever is beautiful to you, just even the little slightest bit, savor that, take a minute with it, because that's how we build a life where we are glad to be alive. And it's how we maintain a sense of self after we've lost our sense of self. For me, right now, I'm showing up every day, even though I'm tired and it's been a very long day. I am committed to showing up for 44 days. And then after that, I think I'm going to show up for 45 days. I have a goal of showing up 100 days in a row. But the processing and the clarity that comes from showing up for yourself and following through on a commitment to yourself is worth it. I have so much that I want to share, and I especially want to see you. What's the opposite of abandoning yourself? Loving yourself? I want to see you loving yourself and really proud of who you are. I am really proud of who I am. I'm really proud that I stopped self-abandoning. It's really hard to show up for yourself when you have teenagers. I was on the WhatsApp. I was going to say on the phone, but I wasn't on the phone. I was on WhatsApp with a friend of mine today, and she's got really hard stuff going on. She also has 5 kids. She has a daughter who has a chronic condition, and she's having really, really hard medical problems right now. And then her dad is also in the hospital right now. And I know it's so freaking much. I know it is. And I know you don't feel like you have time to enjoy your life, and you would really just like to enjoy your life. And maybe next year you can enjoy your life. But today is your life. Today is my life. And so we get to live it. It's a privilege. Not everybody gets a long life. Not everybody gets to make it through their 40s. For me, that's what this is about. This isn't about develop yourself to your highest potential. It's about life is full of grief, and life is also full of joy. And we need to hold them both and somehow not abandon ourselves in the midst of all of it. And I think the way that we do that is very small little choices, intentionally looking for what is beautiful to us and what makes us feel happy, and just even being present in our bodies, tasting the gin and juice. That's what's in here. Fresh squeezed orange juice is one of the great joys of life. I got it at the grocery today. So, heart with you. I know it's a lot right now. I just want to encourage you, as I do every day, to dare to truly live and to find the beauty in your life. Or if your life doesn't feel beautiful right now, to find the beauty in any way that you can. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm Andy. I live in Portugal with my family of 7, but my oldest doesn't live here anymore because she's old. She's 20.